With some recent examples of chronic interruption during conversation, I just thought I'd do a little video on this because it's important, because this happens all the time. When people interrupt, there can be all kinds of reasons. There's different levels of interruption. And in the examples that I've been through recently, especially what just happened yesterday, this is something completely different than casual interruption. So all kinds of interruptions, it can be good or they can be bad. It's good to have certain kinds of interruption. You might agree with what someone's saying and say, yes, I agree, while they're speaking or something. That's good. Or if they make a lie and they're doing a loaded statement, they're setting up a lie into a trap or into another lie, into another lie, you must stop them. You must interrupt their lie and correct that lie then and there. It is right to do so. So there are times where it's good to interrupt. And there are times where it's maybe even at worst, it might be just a little bit inappropriate. And then there's times where you just accidentally talk, you speak at the same time and things like that. And that's all fine. But when I'm talking about interruptions, I'm talking about complete imbeciles who just speak over everything you say chronically. And what they're doing is they're playing a toddler level dominance game. And it's just pathetic. So how do you deal with this kind of stuff? Well, first, you really need to know your shit and be a grown-up about it. Otherwise, you failed before you began. So if you're grown up and you know your shit and you can handle your shit, there are different tactics that you can use. And after speaking about this, I actually looked this online. I looked up psychology stuff online, and I'm not seeing anyone actually giving this advice. I'm seeing fucking toddler level advice being given, stupid shit. So I thought I'd do a video over this. So there's all kinds of tactics you can use, and I generally, not always, I generally do things in a sequence. So when someone is chronically interrupting me, I will let them do it for a while. I'll deliberately let them do it to let them damage the conversation enough to warrant the response. So it's important that you don't do that. You don't be trigger happy about the response. That you be patient with it at first, and you let them interrupt you excessively for enough time to justify the response. And so they interrupt you. You keep doing it for a while, and then what you do is you pause, and then you say, then you just change the topic to, can you let me speak? You keep interrupting me. Can you just let me speak? You do that a few times, right? You stop, you pause, and if you say it loudly, it's better, so that you can be heard. And you just change the subject to the interruptions itself. And you do this a few times. And understand, when people do this, when they're chronically interrupting you, they're not doing this by accident, and they're not going to stop. They're just going to get worse and worse, because they're there for completely different reasons. So people who do these chronic interruptions, they're only going to get worse, and they're not going to stop. So this is the tactics that you can use against them. And I prefer to do this in this progressive way. So you do that. You pause. You loudly say and very assertively, can you stop interrupting me? I'm trying to answer your question. I'm trying to respond to what you're saying. Can you act like a civilized individual and let me speak? If you don't like what I've got to say, then don't ask the question. Say things like that, and you can add progressively to your statement, but start off with, can you please let me speak? So you do that, right? And then they will continue. You do that for a little while, and you let them continue. And there's two ways you can do this. I just think of which way is probably the best, more generic way would be, So what you'll generically do, is you would up that, right? Constantly bringing up the interruptions, and the people who do this, they'll get butthurt in the process, because you're interrupting their interruptions, and you're forcing them to own their shit, and they don't like that. And they get upset about this, and they think that that they might think that they're trying to get you upset and try and mess with you, and it's backfiring, because it's getting thrown straight back in their face, and they will be getting upset at this point. So when they get upset at this point like this, they're going to do this more, and they're going to be doing this over the top to the point. The whole point is to get them to do this over the top, because they're doing this for the wrong reasons, and they're trolling themselves. They're pressing their own buttons by you reacting this way. They're doing this to themselves. They're kicking their own ass. So they get really upset about it, and they'll do this more to the point where anything you say, they're just going to constantly overspeak everything you say. And sometimes they get fed up and they realize, oh, I'm getting my butt kicked. I better stop doing this because it's not working. But most of the time they'll continue. So if they back off, all good. But usually they don't. Sometimes they do. Usually don't. So usually when they do continue, you do this to bring them to the point where they're going to just interrupt everything you say, constantly speak over everything you say. When they do this point, this is a time where you take more dramatic measures. So what you do, you just go completely silent. You just let them talk shit. It doesn't matter. It's 5 or 10 minutes. Just let them talk away. Don't say a word. Let them take the floor and watch. Let the audience see. They take the floor. They're trying to force the floor. They got something so important to say that they have to speak over you. Well, okay, let's give them the floor now. They won't let you speak under any conditions. They've made a big fool of themselves already. They're getting real butthurt over. Let's give this butthurt triggered troll the floor and watch them trip over their own shit. So they let them speak all this crap. Wait till you get a moment until they get fed. They got nothing more to say. They run out of ideas. They've got nothing more to respond to. Just wait for a moment's silence and then straight away bring it back to the topic. You say, "Can I answer something like, can I answer the question now?" Or you just repeat your previous statement, or you say, "Can I answer the question now?" One or the other will work, right? And you repeat that, and because when you say this, they're so butthurt and triggered. When you say this, they've got to interrupt you again. They go for another 5 or 10 minutes of this bullshit, right? You go silent again. You wait for a moment of silence. You repeat the same thing. And they just get more triggered, and over time, they don't have no idea what's going on, and they're going crazy. You do this for a few times, and they're really upset at times. So you do this tactic for a little while, and then what you do is you begin speaking over them, trying to answer their questions, right? Best is to just try this for a little while to show that you can't speak, to show the audience that no matter how much you try and speak, they're not even going to give you a chance. Just to show proof of example, just do this at least a few times. And then what you do is you go back to, can I answer the question, or can you let me speak? There's different ways you can say it. So I prefer to say, can you let me speak? Let me speak. I used to say, you prefer to say, let me speak. Or I might say, let me answer the question, or let me speak, one or the other, or something similar, right? So I prefer to say, let me speak. And sometimes I might change to let me answer the question if they've asked a question or something in response to the topic. So what you do, there's a way you do this, is you don't pause, you don't give them the floor anymore. They've had their chance at the floor and they've shown that they've got nothing to offer. They're just shitting on everything. They got nothing of value to say. They're just an annoying pest. And the audience will be pissed off at them at this stage already. So what you do is you try to answer them, and you just talk. They talk over you. You just keep talking. You do this for a little while to show that they're not going to let you get the floor. And once you do this for a little while, you resort to saying something like, let me speak, let me speak. So what you do, instead of saying let me speak and then doing a pause, I'm not sure if I actually mentioned that earlier, that you should do this with a pause. I think I did mention it. So what you do this time, you do it without a pause. You go to what you're saying, and while they're interrupting you, without you can't pause. It's important that you don't pause. You're saying the shape of Italy is a boot because let me speak, let me speak, let me speak, let me speak, let me speak. So what you do is you talk over them saying let me speak, and you don't do a pause. You don't let them take the floor. You constantly speak. You have to be constantly speaking when you do this. So you jump straight into let me speak. You just, instead of pausing, you jump straight into let me speak, and you just keep repeating that over and over and over and over. And then they'll go silent because this really doesn't go in their favor. So eventually they'll shut up because they'll be suffering too much from their own from butt hurting themselves. Eventually they'll go silent, and other people will probably get pissed off as well if there's anyone else there, because obvious reasons. So they'll give you a moment's silence, right? As soon as you speak again, they're just going to interrupt you again. They're so fucking triggered. They're just going to, they can't hold it in. They go silent for a moment. As soon as you speak, they just can't hold it in. And then you go straight back to, let me speak, let me speak. You just repeat this, right? And did I mention the long silence? I think I mentioned the long silence. I'm not sure if I've gone through all the tactic sequence here, but there's a long silence that you've got to go through. So you see, let me speak, let me speak, let me speak, and you just keep doing this, right? And they just go completely bonkers, and they're made such a fool of themselves. They have no fucking idea. And you just say, let me speak, let me speak, let me speak over the top of them every time they interrupt you. And you might do this for a while. And if you have, at this point, if you have anything to actually say, this is where you just say it, and you don't do a short answer, you do a long answer. You take up as much of the floor time as you can with a long constructed answer. Your answer has to be very, very well done, and not be just beating around the bush with nonsense talk. You need to really know your shit and be talking important shit. So what you do is you have a long, important speech of what you have to say on the matter, and you just talk while they talk over you endlessly. And hopefully volume's all set enough that an audience will be able to hear you through their crap. And you just talk, you say what you got to say in a long speech while they talk and just do stupid shit. And you just say the whole long speech while they talk over you. And then you're done. And you can use any of the previous tactics and go over whatever. So what I like to do after that though, is once I've said the important thing that I wanted to say, any further conversation, you use this tactic. You'd use it's kind of like a reverse psychology type of tactic, and this is what pisses them off the most. You begin to speak. As soon as they interrupt you, you stop. Wait for a moment's silence, and then you start again what you said. And then you may need to say, every now and then you might need to say, as long as you keep interrupting me, I'm going to restart my message over again. I'm going to keep restarting until you let me finish what I'm going to say. And you just restart, you reset over again. It's like this. You got someone who's a fucking dickhead, and they're interrupting a movie just to fuck with you, right? So every time, and they're trying to watch the movie and they're trying to interrupt you, right? So every time they interrupt you, you just reset the movie and start from chapter 1 again. All over again. Every time they interrupt you, you might be 45 minutes into the movie, they start interrupting you, restart, back to chapter 1. Back to chapter 1, back to chapter 1, back to chapter 1. You just keep doing it over and over again. And they make such fools of themselves, it's ridiculous. And they get so fucking crazy about it. And you just keep, from then on, that's all you do. You you don't need to do anything more. If you want to continue the conversation, just stick with the reset tactic. Every time they interrupt you, just doesn't matter what they say, it's important not to be diverted. So every now and then there might be something worthy to respond to, but go straight back and then don't get diverted too far away from the answer. Keep on that answer that you're going to say, and just keep resetting. It might be just a sentence or two. Just keep trying to say that sentence or two. Let them interrupt you. Stop. Pause. Wait for them to talk shit. Wait for a moment's silence. Just do it again. It's like the shape of Italy is blah, blah, blah. The shape of Italy is blah, 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 blah. The shape of Italy is blah, 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 blah. And you just keep doing that over and over. You just perpetually. And you see how this plays out. This is toddler level psychology here. It's fucking pathetic, but unfortunately a lot of people are like this, and they cannot be reasoned with, and they're just there to just deface and talk shit in a conversation or debate. And anyone who's accidentally interrupting and they just don't realize they've gone too far, and it does happen, that's okay. And sometimes people just go a little bit too far, and sometimes they might have a valid reason, or they have legitimately gone too far, and they just need a little kick on the ass to bring them in line. And early in these series of tactics, they will fall in line. But those who are there for malign reasons, they're just here to fuck with people and shit. They're used to using these pathetic little tactics, toddler level wildcard tactics on weak people. But if you know your shit and you're a grown up and you know how to use like toddler level reverse psychology on them, you're interrupting the interrupter. The troll is trolling himself, and when you constantly reset what you're saying, they got nothing valid to say, because they'll trash on you for repeating yourself. But they're the reason it's their fault why you're repeating yourself. They got nothing. They got no card to play. They got nothing. They're fucked. They're fucking themselves over. and they go completely nuts over it. So this is one of the kind of tactics. Like, this is toddler level shit. This is one of the reasons why I'm untrollable. And, you know, they can say, ha ha ha, I've got you triggered and stuff. When people say I'm triggered, I said, no, I'm always angry. I'm not triggered, I'm always angry. You can't make me angry, I'm always angry. And they're trying, it's all a big power game to them. And if you know what you're doing, they can't win. You know, honestly, if you fall prey to a troll and lose your shit and go completely crazy and collapse into a puddle, that's your own fault. Now, I'm not supporting what trolls do, but the fact that you are so easily destroyed by just a low-life piece of shit, you know, you need to own your shit too. What they're doing is wrong, and what you're doing is pathetic. So, anyway, if you want to learn how to debate and discuss and pretty much be a grown-up, learn these toddler level psychology stuff, which is, internet trolls are fucking easy to deal with. It's not some big massive monster. It's like dealing with a fucking toddler. It's not fucking difficult. The fact that so many people are so pathetically stupid and ignorant and toddlers themselves, it's just fucking pathetic. So if you want to learn how to become a bigger boy, to eventually become a big boy, listen to this. I've got a debating tricks video somewhere in my video playlist. There's another example of some debating tricks I use. I can bot this shit. I can do this in voice chat. I can literally record my voice while I'm live chatting and auto play voices responses if I need to, along with text or anything. And I can go to the pub and have a few beers while they're debating with the bot that I just made on the fly while I'm talking with their chick. If people start talking shit in a circle, I'll start responding in a circle, and I'll start automating shit. So people accuse me of being a bot, and sometimes if they're doing stupid shit, I'm inclined to start botting in some way or another. Yes, and it's their own fault. If they got nothing to contribute, just going in a circle, I'll just code that shit while I'm talking to them. I do this kind of shit all the time. So anyway, understand how this all works and why it works and why you should do this. For constructive debate and to how to combat this pathetic shit. There's so much stuff I could say on this. I said in my debating tricks video, there's so much I could say on this. But I recommend, just if you watch this video, go through my debating tricks 1, I think it's called, video. I go through some botting shit that I do and some debating tactics as well. I need to do like a whole series of debating stuff, but I just thought I'd mention stuff up now because it's becoming it's a recurring problem right now, and we just went through like hours of shit yesterday over this, and I've been talking to some people over this, and I thought I'd make this video about just to explain the tactics. And I hope that if you're watching this video and you deal with one of these idiots doing this stupid shit, try this out and you watch how they respond. You know, it's all a big power game to them of dominance and stuff. It's like a dog humping your leg. That's all they're doing. They're like a little dog humping your leg. And you realize this is one of the reasons why I'm untrollable and I'm the bane of trolls. Is I know how to handle these little weasels. They're just little weak soy boy shits. Easy to deal with. As far as I'm concerned, this shit should be taught in school. But obviously it's not, and so many people are so fucking stupid. So I hope that you can use these tactics on people who do this. Find an example. My Manhattans used to do this. I used to train them in debate and stuff, and I used to send them out to do debating missions to test what I taught them and to learn these skills. And they were amazed at what they were able to do. Now, just with these tactics I've shown here, I would like you, if you get a chance, try this on people who do this chronic interrupting kind of crap. Try these tactics. Just remember how these tactics go. Write these tactics down on a notepad in a simple list if you need to remember them, and go through the sequence of tactics. It's important that you don't do these tactics early, otherwise it doesn't work so well and it can actually backfire on you. You need to give them a chance to really make a noise and just be an annoyance and just do stupid shit. You need to let them do that first to justify your response, the way that you respond. You need to justify the way that you respond this way. Otherwise, you're just one of those people who are just like a social justice warrior. Someone interrupts you once, and you say, "Stop interrupting me," and you just sound like a fucking idiot. And when someone actually had something valid to say, or you've said something that's false, and you should be interrupted, and then you're saying, "Don't interrupt me, don't." Trolls can't use this tactic against someone who knows their shit. If they become aware of more advanced tactics, they will use it in a primitive way, and it won't work on someone who actually knows their shit. Weak asses do this all the time. They try and emulate my shit to be able to do what I do. But it might work on weak people, and unfortunately, this is where trolls get their weak little toddler level skills to fuck with weak people. Is they copy people like me who do know their shit. And this is how they mess with people. They just use cheap cards cheap card tactics. But this shit does not work. None of these tactics work on someone who knows what they're doing. So try these tactics out when someone's doing this shit to you in a voice discussion, and if you can, record this and play it back to them to show the fool they made themselves out to be. Try these tactics out, practice them, and see how you go.